Hello and welcome to the March edition of Mytech U, where today we're joined by Tom Keene, who is one of the authorized and certified Microsoft trainers at New Horizons, the Minnesota location. And we're going to be talking about Word and PowerPoint formatting and tips and tricks. One of the things that we often get from our customers is, help me use the tools, but we are not training experts as far as inside of these tools. That's why we work with partners like New Horizons. They have great content to help actually up your level of skill with regard to things like Word and PowerPoint. So Tom's going to lead us through a bunch of tips and tricks, and I'll let Tom introduce himself, but just a couple housekeeping notes really quick. So Tom will be leading the presentation. If you have any questions, please use the question on the control panel, and I will do my best to get them interjected into the presentation. If we're not able to cover everything online today, we will follow up with you and see if we can answer them offline. But please use the questions, as well as a side note, this will be recorded and it'll be posted on our website tomorrow that you can share with your colleagues for future reference. So without further ado, Tom, please take it away for Word and PowerPoint tips and tricks.
All right. Well, thank you, Nate, and thank you, everyone, for joining us. Again, I'm Tom Keene at New Horizons Computer Learning Centers of Minnesota. So again, today's webinar is about tips and tricks, particularly dealing and editing with documents in Word and PowerPoint. So as you get started with this document, one of the things I want you guys to be aware of course, is the big challenges that most of us face. Very often, we get documents, someone else has created them. In fact, they may have been built over years and years and years and years. So they've had lots of people working on them, lots of hands working on these documents. The big challenges I know that I typically face involve doing two kinds of changes. Number one is changing content, and then very often, once I get the content in place, then I have to go back and deal with the formatting. So I find that once I type something in, the fonts aren't the same, the sizes aren't the same, I may have to change colors. And that can be a very, very tedious task in both PowerPoint and Microsoft Word, especially if it becomes a big, big document in either of those applications. So I want to show you today some different ways that you guys can handle both content and specifically make formatting a little bit easier when you have to deal with documents in both Word and PowerPoint. So we're going to get started first taking a look at Microsoft Word. And in this example, let's say that we've inherited a Word document. Someone has written in all the stuff that they want, and now they want us to actually make a few changes and basically try to make this thing look a lot nicer. Well, one of the big keys that I have found to make things go much, much smoother is to actually take advantage of styles. Every Microsoft Word document has a whole pile of styles that you can use. Some of the big advantages of using styles: number one, they apply multiple formats to a selection with just a single command. So I might, for example, tell it that I want to change the font, change the size, change the spacing, and change the alignment by simply giving it a style name and applying that style instead of having to do all of those steps individually from the ribbon. One of the other great benefits is if your document has styled text in it, if you're unhappy with the way the current style looks, you can simply update all instances of the formatted text by changing the style's definition. That can save you hours of going through a document and replacing a particular look over and over and over again. And what's very nice is that if you've created a particular kind of document and you'd like to use those same styles in another document, you can take what you've created, save that as a template, and your styles in there will come along for the ride, and they'll be available for the next project that you guys create. Now, as you're working with styles in Microsoft Word, there are four kinds of styles that Word lets you use. The first of these is a character style, and a character style is usually applied to an individual word or set of letters within a paragraph. For example, let's say that every time I write a document, I want to change the appearance of the company name to match the company font. So I would have to choose the name, and I could have a character style, which would allow me to very quickly update the way that stuff looks and feels. The next style is a paragraph style, and that would affect everything that's in a block of text. Typically, my paragraph styles will include such things as the font, a size, alignment, color, spacing before, spacing after, line spacing. All of those things can be part of a paragraph style. There are special kinds of paragraphs you can use that are called lists. You probably are familiar with both formatted or numbered and bulleted types of lists. Often with lists, you may want to change the indents. You may want to change the margins. In some cases, if it's a bullet list, you may even want to change the bullet. Well, you can use a list style so that the next list that you go to can have all those same formattings instead of you having to do that all over and over and over again. And then finally, of course, if you're working with a table, you can have a table style. To help you out, Microsoft usually gives us tons of built-in character, paragraph, list, and table styles. Sometimes you may want to create one of your own, and that's certainly an option as well. So again, let's take a look here in Microsoft. I'm going to pop open a document here in Microsoft Word. And one of the things that drives a lot of people crazy when they first get started with Microsoft Word is that when you create paragraphs, you get started by using a paragraph style that's called normal. Now to access, I can take a look here in my styles group on the ribbon. There I have a quick style gallery. And for example, I see that normal, that's the current style that's in place. The little symbol next to normal, if you guys see that, it's the paragraph mark. That indicates what kind of style that this is. This is a paragraph type of style. By default, it's telling it I'm using a Calibri 11. I'm using aligned left. And the thing that makes people crazy is that there is extra space between all of my paragraphs. Sometimes that's perfectly fine. Other times it's not so much, it's a big problem. In fact, in this document, as I start looking through it, I'm going to flip through some of the pages, and I want to show you an example where this extra styling is a huge problem. I'm taking a look right now of these 4 chapters of Building with Heart. They operate in around what's called Green City. And here we have a list. We have the street address, the city, state, zip, and the phone number. Those are all separate paragraphs. I'd like to have them remain separate paragraphs. But of course, you can see using the normal style, there's extra spaces between them. Well, this is where I want to do my first change in the style. So let's say, for example, I want to make sure that all of these pieces of text line up next to each other with actually no space between them. Word gives me a different style for that. That's where I can come to my Styles Gallery and choose the no spacing style, and the extra spacing is gone. So again,
so Tom,
you first, yeah.
Let me interject there. So is this something, those styles, are these something that, are you describing some default styles that are built into Word, or are these ones that you had to set up yourself previously?
Excellent question, Nate. This particular document has this style in it. All Microsoft Word documents that you create from the default template start with these quick styles available. So this is not something I had to create. They were there for me to use. And the ones I use quite a bit are the normal style, which puts extra spacing between my paragraphs, and the no spacing style, which clears that out.
And the alternative to this is you'd have to highlight it, right-click, paragraph, format, spacing. I mean, you'd have, basically you're able to do this with a couple clicks as opposed to 10 or 12 or 15 clicks.
Precisely.
Yeah.
If I was doing this by hand, I would have to come up to my paragraph group, click the dialog box launcher, and there I can tell it there's the issue, which is space after. I'd have to change the space after. And of course, having done that, that was just for one paragraph or a group of paragraphs. I'd have to keep doing that over and over and over again. So now I'm just going to clean up all of this list by simply applying a different style to the document. And all of a sudden, where I want extra spacing, I can still use the normal paragraph style for the phone number, and yet all the other paragraphs would have the no spacing style. So again, if this is something that makes you crazy in Word, where it's always putting extra spaces between those paragraphs, simply change the style that you're using, and the problem is solved. So let's talk next also about working in a longer document such as this. And this is where I want to start creating what's known as an outline. An outline in a Word document is something that consists of two pieces or two kinds of text. There would be headings. Headings are typically used so that we can scan through sections of a document. And then there would be the non-headings, or what's basically called body text. So in this document, I would like to first make this something that's going to be scannable. So I'm going to start by applying a series of heading styles to this document. So first, I notice this paragraph called Our Mission. That's something I would like to use as a heading. Now, if I go up to my styles gallery, you're going to note we get a couple of styles up there already for headings. There's heading 1 and heading 2. If I place my cursor over one of those heading styles, I have a feature called Live Preview that's showing me what they're going to look like. So I can see the difference between heading 1 and heading 2. Clearly, there's a difference in size in this document. So I'm going to start by making that a heading 1. And one of the other things that's very nice is that by adding headings, I'm creating document navigation systems. As you probably see, my navigation panel has come open on my screen. So if I need to jump to a particular section of the document, instead of bringing up my find or find and replace or go to feature, I can use my navigation panel and simply click where I want to go. So again, this is going to...
John, if I just want to interject real quick. I was just thinking that you're doing some really great but simple stuff. And for those of you who are watching right now or listening afterwards, if you have multiple monitors, pull up a Word document on your other monitor, something that you use inside your organization, and play with this right alongside it so you can kind of get some practice, because that might prompt some questions that you may have, especially those that are watching online. But see if you can follow along with some of this, especially if you have multiple monitors where you can kind of see both screens at the same time. I think that could be kind of a cool experience as Tom's kind of walking us through this stuff.
That's great, Nate. That's a great suggestion. Sure. So again, I'm going to continue with my styling assignments. So I'm going to come down to this next paragraph, who qualifies for a BWH home. And again, I want you to note, if by clicking inside that paragraph, Word knows which paragraph I'm working on, I don't actually have to select all the text in the paragraph in order to apply the style to the paragraph. If I was going to change the letters, that would be a character style, and yes, I would have to choose a letter. Here, I just click anywhere in the paragraph. I click once. That's an insertion point, and then just use heading 1, and I apply the style again. And if you'll notice in my outline panel, I'm now creating navigation points. So if I need to get to the Our Mission statement, I'll jump right there. I can click Who Qualifies, and I can jump right there. Having a built-in navigation system can make editing so much easier than having to scan through a huge document. Now, I would like to show you another way that I might want to continue applying these styles. As you've seen, if I wanted to assign a paragraph style, I click an insertion point in the paragraph and just go to the ribbon and click on the style name. In some cases, what I'd like to do is just copy an existing paragraph style to other paragraphs. For example, I have where the needs and who can volunteer. I'd like to continue applying the heading 1 style to them. So another great way to do this is to use a tool on my ribbon called the Format Painter. The Format Painter's purpose is to copy formatting from one block of text to another. So I'm going to first choose the style that I want to copy, who qualifies for a BWH home. On the clipboard group, I'm going to click the Format Painter to turn it on. And then when I move my cursor into my document, you're going to notice my normal I-beam text cursor has the brush applied to it, meaning it's going to use the Format Painter. So now I can just click and drag over my text, and there I've applied the style. Now, a little tip and trick about using the Format Painter. You may notice that once I painted on that style, the Format Painter turned itself off, which was fine if I only wanted to use it once. I want to use it multiple times. So the trick is, when you're choosing your text that you want to copy, and you are choosing the Format Painter. If you double-click it, you're getting into what's called sticky mode. So now I can continue painting and I can finish styling my document by using the Format Painter. Once, of course, I have finished with all of that formatting, I'm simply going to turn off the Format Painter by going back to Clipboard, turn off the Format Painter, and I'm ready to go. So again, this is the use of how you could quickly apply paragraph styles to a document. Now, let's talk a little bit about working with another example of a style up here. Let's say that in this second paragraph, building hope, building lives, I would like to change building hope. Well, this is where I'm going to go up to my style gallery, and I'm going to click the emphasis button. And please note that that applies to just my highlighted text. If I clicked in a document and said I want to do emphasis style, you notice it only did the space. Gang, that's an example of a character style versus a paragraph style. When I'm working with paragraph styles, I just have to click an insertion point and choose the style that I want. With character styles, I have to highlight what I want to apply them. So emphasis would be an example of a character style that you could use. You'll also notice there's the intense emphasis if I wanted to make sure something had a color. Now, depending on your monitor size, you may want to see more styles in this gallery. You can, of course, scroll through the list of styles. You see there's a few others, including things like book title, list paragraph, and so on. If you'd like to see all of these at once, you can go to what's called the More button on the ribbon, and that expands the gallery so I can see all of the options in there in one window instead of only a piece of them. You may also notice that I have a few other options here, such as creating a style, clearing formatting, and applying a style. Now, this style gallery isn't the only place that I can access styles and change them. So in this case, if I wanted to open up a style panel, I'm going to take my cursor, go to the lower right corner of this particular group, and there you're going to see what's called a dialog box launcher. In this case, if I hover over it, I do note this is going to open up my styles panel, and there is a keyboard shortcut for opening. But I find if I have to mash down 4 keys, I'm not really think that's much of a shortcut. So I'm going to pop that open, and you can now see the styles panel. By default, my styles panel is a floating panel. And again, if it's floating, I often have to pick it up and move it to get it out of my way. Well, most panels in Microsoft Office give me the ability to what's called dock them. So I'm going to take styles and just drag it over to the right side of my, or left side of my screen, and there you can see I can dock it. And right now, I'm going to go ahead and close up the navigation panel. By the way, if you wanted to see that, it would be under View, Show, and there's the navigation panel, which came on automatically when I started applying my paragraph styles. I can turn it off here, and I just have my styles panels open. So here, I see that same gallery. It also indicates to me what kind of style this is. I can see paragraphs, I can see characters, and some of these are both a combination styles of paragraph and character. You can see that heading 1 is both. It has that A symbol, meaning it's a character style. We can see that strong, quote, and emphasis are examples of character styles. So again, I'm going to go ahead and add another style. I'm going to start at the very top and tell it I'd like to add a book title style to my heading. Exit, there we are. I can also tell that I'd like to make this a title. And then I may want to go ahead and add heading 2 style for my document. Now, once I've applied my styles, I then want to take a serious look about how these things look. At this point, for example, I noticed that when I used heading 1, it's used Calibri Light, size 16, and a color blue for that font. Well, that may be something that I don't really like. So I now have 2 choices. My first choice would be actually to create my own style. My second choice is to change the way that heading 1 looks for this Microsoft Word document. So I'm going to start by showing you how to change the definition of an existing style. So let's say right now that I would like to make that text here a little smaller. I'd like to make it size 14. I'd like to use a different font for it, and I would like to use a different color. Now, a lot of us would probably start by selecting the text, going to the font group, and changing the size and changing the colors and all that. The problem is, if I do it for our mission, I then have to do it for all the other text as well. And I'd have to do them one at a time. In this case, I want to change them all at once by changing the style definition. I'm going to begin by choosing a paragraph with my desired style that I want to change. If I go up to my styles group, I can see that it's using heading 1. I can also see the same thing in my styles panel. If I want to change the way heading 1 looks, I simply right-click on heading 1, and there's my option to modify. So this opens up the Modify Style window for me. And from here, I could give this a different name. I can also tell that this style is based on something. As you can see here, this is called based on normal. When a style is based on another, such as if heading 1 is based on normal, what that means, if I was to change the font of normal, it would automatically change the font of heading 1. So you could have like one font that control many fonts throughout your entire document. It also says when I press enter, what's the font that I want to see that comes next. In this case, it assumes that after I type a heading, the next font I want would be normal style. Well, let's say in your document that the next style that you would use would be the no spacing. So from the drop-down list, you could set what your preferred follow-up style would be. By having this in place, I can actually type a headline, press enter, and start typing body text as opposed to having to manually change that. So right now, I'm just going to leave these as normal. And to change my heading 1, first, I'm going to change the font face. So I'm going to go to my font drop-down list. And let's say, for example, I'm going to make my headings Times New Roman. There I have my size option. I'm going to set that to 14. I would like my headings to be bold, so I'm going to apply the bold style. And here, of course, I have the choice of my colors up here. And I have 2 choices. They're theme colors and standard colors. We're going to talk about themes a little later, particularly when we get to PowerPoint. But for right now, I'd like you to know that a theme color is a set of colors that can change if you load a different theme to a document. Standard colors mean I'm this color regardless of a theme. So these change, these really don't. So in this case, I'm going to tell it, gee, I'd like to just go with automatic. Thank you, just black text will be great. If you'll notice, I also get a description of the font, space before, space after. And if I would like to actually adjust the spacing of this font, this is where I can click to my Format button, and then I can set controls for fonts, the paragraph, tabs, border, language, frame, numbering, set a shortcut key, or add different kinds of text effects. So let's say, for example, I want to go to paragraph. And here I can change the alignment of my text. I can tell it if it needs to be indented. I can do spacing either before the paragraph or after the paragraph. I can also use line spacing if I have a multi-line paragraph to control the spacing here. This says I can use this at a single. You can see the choices, 1.5 lines, double lines. Or if you want to be very precise, for example, I noticed that this font, I'm making it 14 point. I may want to make it 16 points of spacing afterwards. So we can do it very precise or use any of these options. I'm going to leave this at multiple for now. And then I can also go to this thing called line and page breaks up here. And this says, for example, when I'm working with this text, I have an option that says window, widow and orphan control, and keep with next paragraph and keep lines together. In this case, I'm telling it that I want to make sure this headline never gets separated from the paragraph underneath it. So at the bottom of a page, if there's enough space for the headline, but not enough space for the rest of this paragraph, Word will automatically pull the headline over to the next page. So these are nice options for controlling paragraphs. For now, I'm just going to tell it, okay, I'm good here. I've seen the changes I want to make to my document. Let me go back to my paragraph and tell it that I have space before, space after, multiple lines. I click OK. And then from here, I'm going to click the OK button. And gang, what I want you to know, every single heading one throughout this entire document changed for me. That is my time saver. So when I work in Microsoft Word, I add my content. I then go add one of my built-in styles, and I don't really care what they look like yet. Once I have styled the document, then I go back and modify the style to what I want. Now, I want to show you another option, which is creating a particular style. Let's say right now, in working with a document, I want to create what's called a tagline style for this building hope, building lives. So I know what I want it to look like, so I'm going to create a custom style here. So I'm going to go ahead first and clear the formatting style that I put on there. So it's now just using normal. Very valuable tool here is the clear all. This way I don't have styles competing with each other. To build my new style, I'm going to go to my Styles panel and then tell it at the bottom of my screen I have a New Style button, a Style Inspector, and Manage Styles. I'm going to click the New Style button, and I'm going to say I want to call this my BWH tagline. I need to decide what kind of style is this going to be. There you see my choices. I'll leave this as a paragraph. Do I want to be basing on a style? I can tell it, well, gee, no, I want this to be independent. I don't want this to change if some other style changes. And then what would you like to follow when you type this? Well, if I have multiple lines, I'd like to keep using the existing tagline. So for now, just so I can see a dramatic change, I will again pick, say, Times New Roman. I want to go ahead and make this size 20. I'd like to make it italic. And I want to go ahead and pick a color. And let's say, for example, I'm using this red to match my logo. And gang, before I close this dialog box, I do want to take a look at these options at the bottom of the screen. And one of these you'll see is only in this document. What that means now is that this new style, BWH tagline, is for work in the fact sheet efficiency Word document style. If I create a new Microsoft Word document, that style won't be there. If you have created a style and you would like to make it available for every possible Microsoft Word document you can create, you can take this style and add it to the default template that's being used. And that way, all future Microsoft Word documents would include this. So right now, I'm going to leave it for this document only. I click OK.
Tom, real quick, just to clarify that last point, which is a great one, is the current method you're showing, it's all Microsoft. If you created the to the template, that would be for all future Microsoft Word documents that were created on this person's machine.
Correct.
This installation versus across the organization. Because there's different
That's
ways
correct.
to do that.
I am changing my document. I'm changing my default template for creating Word files on my machine. If, Nate, to your point, if I actually then wanted to make sure that other people in the organization could use this same template, I might save this file as a template, and then I can share that with everybody throughout an organization. And I would just create the document and forward that. So if I was going to make the template, I would simply tell it File, Save As, and I can choose a location. Right now, it doesn't really matter where I start. Templates are going to go into a different location. So I would say this would be BWH Styles. For the Word document, I would now tell it I'd like to save this as a Word template. That's going to redirect me to the Custom Office Templates folder that's on my computer's hard drive. And I click Save. And now I've created a template. So the next step would be to actually create a document off of this template. So I would do File, New, and here I see a bunch of featured templates. Most of these are available to me from the internet. If, however, I go to Personal, there's my new style. I click on it, and there would be that same style in a brand new blank document ready to go. So in Word, you'll have to...
Sorry, I'll just add on that, is that, so where you saw, if you mind going back real quick to that where you said File New, one of the things that I had no idea until about 2 years ago, that when you see File New and there's Featured and then there's Personal, we actually, if you share this across your organization and leveraging Active Directory and some of the standard infrastructure that pretty much every organization has, you can actually, in ours, we have a shared, and that shared is a standard template. It's like a letterhead template or a PowerPoint template or other templates that we have established styles and been able to, that you can establish for your entire organization. So, you know, as Tom's showing on his machine and personal templates and styles he's creating on his machine, you can take the same concept and apply it across your entire organization, especially if you want common fonts and letterhead and all those kind of things built into your template. So we won't get into that today, but I wanted to call that out since you showed this particular section. There's a way to apply it across your organization as well.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great way of sharing stuff. So again, this is an option I wanted to show you about getting started in Microsoft Word, using your built-in styles, creating a custom style, and how that can save you a ton of time for formatting. Some other benefits of styles would be if I later wanted to generate a table of contents. If Word documents have styles in them, you can create those automatically. Now, I want to go ahead and switch over to PowerPoint right now. So I'm going to close up my Microsoft Word documents. So again, Word styles. And now let's talk about the issue of PowerPoint. Often in PowerPoint, I face the same dilemma as Word. I have an existing PowerPoint presentation. Someone needs me to insert a new slide and add new content to it. Too often, when I actually add the new slide, it's got a bunch of formatting and my slide doesn't pick that up. So I'd like to show you how we can deal with a similar issue in PowerPoint. So in PowerPoint, the first thing I want to show you is about adding content to a PowerPoint slideshow. There are 3 methods you can use. One, of course, is to type directly in a text placeholder on a slide. That's the way most of us do it. If you're building a PowerPoint presentation, you can actually use the outline panel. That way you can build your entire PowerPoint presentation and not actually ever have to touch the text directly on the slide. And what I find a really great option is to actually import your outline from Microsoft Word. I could write my entire presentation in Word and bring it into PowerPoint. So again, if I was creating a PowerPoint presentation, let's say, for example, I'm going to do a file, open, and I'm going to go open a PowerPoint presentation I created earlier. And let's say in this particular document, I want to talk about some of the goals of our mission. Ordinarily, you guys might go to the Home tab on the ribbon, go New Slides, pick your desired layout, and start filling in the text. I'm going to do that in a different manner. So I know what I want to say. I don't want to have to type on the slides. So instead of inserting the slide, in PowerPoint, I'm going to go up to my View tab, Under View, I'm going to go what's called my different view options, including presentation views. And in presentation views, I'm going to choose Outline View. So again, what this does is open my outline panel. And as you can see, it starts with my first slide, and there's the text already on it. So if I place my cursor at the end of that line and press Enter, PowerPoint should automatically add a new slide. It's not here because I've actually formatted that text a little bit first. So what I'm going to do is actually first go to Insert, Home, New Slide, add the new slide that goes with it. And there I have my second slide ready to go. So on the second slide, I'm going to type our mission. And then I'm going to say we have step 1, step 2, step 3. I want to talk about our locations. And I can talk about we have Dallas, St. Paul, Eagan, Silver Spring. Now I want you to note, every time that I start typing and press Enter, I'm creating a new slide in the presentation. So once I type in all my text, I now want to turn this into the outline. Some of these need to be bullets. So for slide 2, I want step 1, 2, and 3 to be bullet points. To do that, I select these in the outline, press my Tab key, and there are my bullets. Our location needs to be converted into an outline as well. So I select the text, and again, I simply press my Tab key to convert those into bullets. These are working with what are called outline levels. At the very top, our location, our mission, those are at level 1. When I press my Tab key, I move text to level 2, which created a bullet. If I was taking this further, for example, I might type Texas, press Enter, and if I press Tab, you notice I've demoted Dallas to level 3. I'd say it's Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston. And you could create a multi-level outline.
Tom, I've been doing this all wrong for years.
I find that a lot of people, when they've had to do PowerPoint, have really struggled with it, and they've made more work for themselves. They've just never taken advantage of this outline. So this is a great way that you guys can actually type in a PowerPoint slideshow. It's especially helpful if your company has a corporate template that already has the design and layout associated with it. You guys can just add your content this way. So again, this becomes a great way for you guys to actually start working with an outline feature in PowerPoint. Now, this gets even better in my view. So I'm going to go ahead and press Enter twice, or actually once. There we go. And if I want to demote or promote something, I can do a Shift Tab. So Tab demotes and Shift Tabs will promote. And let's say for the next slide in this presentation, someone has sent me a Microsoft Word document, and they want to bring it in here. Now, you might think to copy and paste it, but if you can save yourself a little time if you follow another feature. So again, I'm going to open up this document in Word called Building with Heart Goals. Someone sent me this goal statement, and I need to bring it into my PowerPoint presentation. I want to use that same outline feature that I just saw in PowerPoint. So I'm going to start in Word by going to View. And there I see my different options, including Read, Print, which is what most of us use. And then I have what's called Outline Mode. By turning this feature on, Word now acts like the outline panel that I just saw in PowerPoint. So again, from here, I'm going to say at the very top, I want this to be level 1. That would be the title of my slide. I would then select all of the bullets and say, you guys are supposed to be level 2s. So now, I'm going to save my document. I'll just call this outline. And then I'm going to close up my Microsoft Word program. Back in my PowerPoint presentation, I want to bring in my document. So I simply tell it I would like to go to New Slide, Slides from Outline, and then I'm just going to browse to where I dropped off that document. There's the outline feature. I click Insert. Okay, it actually wrote the entire slide for me. I find a lot of people don't use the outline view in Microsoft Word. Now, I do have one issue. Right now, when I brought in this text from Word, it brought the style along with it. And of course, it doesn't match the text on anything else. In Microsoft Word, styles in a PowerPoint presentation are driven by one thing. They are driven by what's called a slide master. So whatever I have set up on this master slide, that's what this stuff looks like. So for example, if I'm to change this text, make it bold, change the font to something else, and change the color, as soon as I click Close Master View and return to my document, all the headings on every single slide changed as a result. This is the closest that Microsoft PowerPoint comes to having styles. You change it on the master. Now again, I have this problem on this slide. It's not reading the data because it's manually formatted. It brought in its own style. So to make sure my document actually follows the stuff from the master page, I need to clear the manual formatting or the stuff that was brought in from Word. To do that, I select my text, go to the Home tab on the ribbon, and then I go to my font group, and there I see my Clear All Formatting button. And now PowerPoint's back in charge. I'll do the same for the heading. I clear the heading, and now the PowerPoint master slide isn't back. So again, in PowerPoint, the best way to control the way things look, do not change it on a slide-by-slide basis. Instead, go up to View, go to your master slide, find the top master slide, which controls all of these others, and select what you want your text to look like. Again, I'm going to change this to say something very obvious, different. I'll scroll down and pick Times New Roman. Close, and everything in your PowerPoint presentation changed. So again, in future, please resist actually going to your ribbon and changing the fonts here because you're just creating more work for yourself. Again, that's a look at working with some quick tips and tricks here in both Word and in PowerPoint. So, any questions, anything else I can answer for anybody today about getting started using these tools?
Tom, that was excellent. There haven't been any questions online, but I can tell you that I learned a lot in all the PowerPoint presentations that I've made, and I've never done an importing from Word. I knew master slides existed. I just didn't know how to use them. And like I said, even sometime within the last couple of years, where we at Mytech, started using these shared templates instead of saving a letterhead document solution. But this is some great extra tips and tricks. So I'd like to say thanks everyone for watching, participating, and Tom, thank you very much for your time. Tom's contact information is here. There will be a follow-up email sent out tomorrow. Link to the website for New Horizons. Is there definitely one of our training partners that we work with, because Tom is way better at this than we are, and we definitely feel there's value in ways in which you can apply these efficiencies, not just in one person, but across your organization. So Tom, thanks a lot for your time, and everyone listening and watching, have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you, Nate.